All right, time for a little preview of the 2026 Eastern and Western Conference Finals matchups. Before I get into it, we're going to go back to the semifinals and do a little recap on both those series, my thoughts. As far as the Pistons and Cavaliers series, it's the one that we're fresh off of. Game 7 was last night. I think the best team won. Pistons have some issues, man. I mean, besides Cade Cunningham, they have absolutely no consistent help on the offensive end. I like how they have a decent makeup of bench players like Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, obviously one of the best three-point shooters in the league, but you're going to need a lot more than that, especially when you're going up against a team with James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, and the likes. I mean, Asar Thompson, I'll touch on him a little bit later, but dude is absolutely worthless on the offensive side of the court. Game 7 last night, I'm looking at the stats right here. Cade Cunningham. I will never get why NBA players continue to jack up threes when they're not shooting threes well. It makes no sense to me. Cade was 5 for 9 inside the arc. Pretty damn good percentage. 0 for 7 from 3. So why do you refuse to drive, draw fouls, and take it to the rack when you can't shoot threes? The man refused to drive. He refused to attack the lane and just kept jacking up threes and missing them. So frustrating. I'm not even a Pistons fan, but I can't imagine how they were watching that. I mean, my God, dude. Drive it to the lane. Make some plays for your teammates. Dish it off to the big men. Anything. It's absolutely horrible on Cade's part. I understand he might have been tired, but unacceptable stuff from Cade Cunningham in a Game 7 at home. And once again, James Harden, the Game 7 merchant, gets bailed out. Let's pull up his stat line. 2 for 10, 0 for 6 from 3, 5 for 8 from the line. He did have 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 turnover. Incredible that he didn't have more turnovers than made field goals after going freaking 2 for 10. I mean, we're talking about a guy that, let me pull it up here. How many? James Harden has had at least equal or more turnovers than field goals made in 46 playoff games. That is an unbelievable stat when you think about it. 46 playoff games where he's had as many or more turnovers than field goals made. And that's a guy we view as one of the best scorers of all time and a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just absolutely unacceptable stuff in the playoffs. He got bailed out from a great performance from Donovan Mitchell. Not going to lie. I've been really critical of Donovan Mitchell, but he was absolutely phenomenal in that Game 7. Making plays for his teammates, hustling, not turning the ball over. Evan Mobley had a great game. Jared Allen had a great game. Max Strus contributed as much as James Harden, 9 points, the same as Harden had. And 23 from Allen, 21 from Mobley, 26 from Mitchell, and then 23 from Sam Merrill. Shout out to Sam Merrill. You know it's bad when Sam Merrill shows up more in a Game 7 than James Harden. What are we doing here, James? Tell you what, if he keeps that up next series against the Knicks, who have some great defenders, they're cooked. They're absolutely cooked. I did think the Cavs were the better team. I picked them to win in 6. I was honestly surprised the Pistons took it to 7 games. Thought the Orlando Magic were a better team than the Pistons, if I'm being completely honest. I think if Franz Wagner doesn't get hurt that series, I think the Magic win. But the Cavs have some serious issues, and I think the Knicks are really going to expose them. Consistency and turnovers. I've never saw a better team, quote unquote, that plays worse than the Cavaliers. It's like every other game with them. They can't win a road game. Donovan Mitchell alternates great performances, and the turnovers, absolutely reckless turnovers in the Raptors series and in the Pistons series. And if they do that against the Knicks, they're going to get cooked. Of course, Donovan Mitchell has some great games. He had a great Game 7. But to be considered a superstar and get your team to the finals, you can't be alternating every other game. And that's sometimes what I feel Donovan Mitchell does. Also, you got to be pushing 38 minutes a game, buddy. Like, you got to go 38 plus minutes a game this whole series against the Knicks to even have a shot. The guy sits too much. He rests too much. I don't get Kenny Atkinson's usage of him sometimes. There was a game, I think it was game 5 in Detroit, where it was right there for the taking. He was coming off like a 40-point game. I get maybe he was tired, but they come out at halftime and he plays 5 minutes and he's on the bench. That's unacceptable. You can't be sitting 5 minutes into the third quarter when you're fresh off halftime. And the game's right there for the taking. Kenny Atkinson, that's a whole other story. Don't get me started on him. I personally think Kenny Atkinson is a horrible coach. I think his scheme is bad. I think his starting lineups until the last couple of games have been absolutely horrible. His usage of players, absolutely horrible. Getting the players motivated, absolutely horrible. Game 6 at home, when they had the chance to close the Pistons out, that was one of the worst closeout home performances I've ever saw in my life. And I mean, that starts directly at the top with the head coach. I think if they would have lost this series of the Pistons, he should have been fired. And honestly, I still think he should probably be fired. Just disgrace. Absolute disgrace sometimes that guy is. But he's in the Eastern Conference Finals. Can't talk too much crap on him. But like I said, against this next series, they got to be a lot more consistent. They got to cut down the turnovers. Evan Mobley has to be more consistent. I don't know how a defensive player of the year can get dominated by Jalen Duren on the offensive end, but that happened a couple times. Got dominated on the glass a couple times. So Evan Mobley got to start stepping up and start acting like the player he was projected to be. As for the Pistons, like I said, they need more scorers, man. And also, if I'm Coach Bickerstaff, Asar Thompson, that guy has to get up 100-plus jumpers a day, at least this offseason. 100 jumpers every single day. You have got to become a better shooter and a more reliable offensive threat. He was airballing threes last night. Airballing threes. He shouldn't even be shooting threes, but when you do, you can't airball them. And I love Asar Thompson. I really think he could be, I think he is, honestly, probably the best on-ball guard defender in the NBA. He's so long, he's so quick, his energy is outstanding. I would love to have him on my team, but now's the time where you got to step your game up in other facets as well. And offensively, he is absolute liability, non-existent. If I was the opposing coach, don't even guard him. Unless he's driving to the rim, don't even guard him. So that's my thoughts on the Pistons. They need to get Cade some more help, get Asar Thompson shooting jumpers. Jalen Duren has to become more physical and more of a weapon offensively and defensively. You have to be able to grab rebounds when you're that big and you're playing power forward / center for your team. As far as the other two series, I'm not really going to talk about them, to be honest. I mean, the Lakers and Thunder is pretty self-explanatory. Far superior team, and last year's NBA champion won. And then the Knicks and the 76ers, that was just an absolute embarrassment for the Sixers. I don't know how you let Wells Fargo Arena or whatever their stadium's called nowadays just become Little Madison Square Garden, completely overrun. You had Embiid talking about he'll give you money if you need it, and they were They were not selling tickets if you didn't have a Philadelphia zip code. I mean, that whole thing just went to complete shit because none of it worked. And somehow Knicks fans infiltrated and they just got the brakes blown off. No one really played well. Embiid was banged up. Kind of saw that happening after the last series he had. And yeah, so we're just going to skip past those two series and go to the Wolves and the Spurs. Kendrick Perkins is a joke. Timberwolves get lucky and steal game 1, and next thing you know, Kendrick Perkins is on air saying this.
And I'm telling you right now, if the San Antonio Spurs don't get game 2, it is a must-win situation. They're going to get swept. They are going to get swept. This team means business. I know it when I see it, and I'm telling you the real.
Now this right here, this is part of the reason why I stopped watching ESPN and First Take as much as I do, because these guys are just clickbait merchants. I mean, Kendrick Perkins, have you ever watched a basketball game before? You realize likely their two best players, Wembanyama and Fox. Wemby went 5 for 17 and 0 for 8 from 3. De'Aaron Fox went 5 for 14 and 0 for 4 from 3. That's 31 total shots, and they had, 10? Is that 10 for 31 with no threes made? In what world is that ever happening again? It's not. That's the answer. It's not happening again. And you know how much the Timberwolves won by? 2 points. So yeah, they weren't going to lose game 2. I bet the house on them to win game 2, and they blew them out game 2. So stop with that, Kendrick Perkins. Just ridiculous take. I mean, honestly, the Timberwolves were handicapped a little bit with the Anthony Edwards injury. I can't go too hard on them because I know he wasn't full health, but they need some tools as well. They need to do some work this offseason because Julius Randle, that's not a reliable number 2. I'm sorry. He had some good games, but for the most part, he was a liability. And I think they actually lost. I thought they lost that trade when they made it. I would have never gave away Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, but you got to look into moving off of him and finding a reliable, actual number 2 player to put alongside Ant-Man because he's also as talented as he gets. I love that guy. I think he's a great player, but he needs a little bit of help. He's been carrying the Wolves by himself for the last couple of years, and if they don't get him some help soon, he's gonna want out of there. So you got to look at moving some pieces. I like Ayo Dosunmu. I think that was a great addition. Terrence Shannon, good young player. Jaden McDaniel is one of the best defenders in the league. I do like him. Rudy Gobert, you're kind of stuck with that guy. He is good at times, but he's also a liability too. We're talking about one of the quote-unquote best defensive bigs in history. Won 3 Defensive Player of the Years, and he just got dominated by 22-year-old Victor Wembanyama. So you got to look yourselves in the mirror if you're the Wolves and see how you can get better and help out Anthony Edwards. I remember telling people, and they laughed at me, by the way, when Victor Wembanyama was coming out in the draft, I said, this guy's probably going to be the best defensive player in the league pretty quick. I think he's been the best defensive player in the league the last 3 years. 2024, Rudy Gobert got it because he had the best defense in the league. Ooh, pretty sure Wemby had a better defensive rating. Should have won it that year. Next year, he's on pace to win it and gets a blood clot. And we get another pity Defensive Player of the Year award given to Evan Mobley, who, like I said earlier, was getting dominated at times by Jalen Duren. When I watch that guy, I don't see a Defensive Player of the Year, but all right. So that's 3. He obviously won by a landslide this year, but that's 3 in a row his first 3 years in the league he should have. This guy is the best defensive player in NBA history, and it's really not close. It really isn't. I've never saw a team where the guards don't have to play defense. They literally can let their man go right by him if they want because they have the biggest security blanket in the history of the league standing there in the lane ready to block anything. I mean, you watch some of these dudes go for layups and they see him out of the corner of their eye and they just chuck it out of the three-point line. They just get rid of the ball or chuck up a horrible shot because he is that impactful. He's incredible. And I'm telling you right now, if he stays healthy, he is going to be one of the best players in the history of the NBA. Up there with Jordan, up there with LeBron. Already the best defender of all time. And I think next year is when it's really going to kick into gear. I think he's probably going to win the MVP next year, and him and the Spurs are probably going to go on a decade-long run, dominating the league, especially him. And we'll see if they can take it to another level a year ahead of schedule. No one expected them to be here. I'm probably the only person in the world that thought they were going to win the Western Conference back in October. And I know that because I bet on them, and they were plus 3,000. Plus 3,000 to win the West. For those of you that don't do sports betting, that means a $100 bet would win you $3,000. That is crazy odds. They were not even close. And what did they do? Came out and dominated the league. Wemby dominated everyone. In the MVP discussion, they went 4-1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I get it's the regular season, but they had their number, and the Thunder had 18 losses. That means 22% of the Thunder's losses came to the Spurs. Just let that sink in. So we're going to have an absolutely phenomenal series. I cannot wait to watch it. This is the NBA Finals. This might as well be for the Larry O'Brien, because these are the two best teams in the league, and I got whoever wins this series winning the whole damn thing. I don't know if y'all remember, but Victor Wembanyama got a little bit of beef against Chet Holmgren. He's always had a little chip on his shoulder ever since they were younger, and Chet kind of got the best of him. So this is your chance, brother. This is your chance to take it to him. And he's been doing it the last couple years in the NBA, that's for sure. I do like Chet Holmgren. I've never been a hater of him. I always thought he was going to be a great player. A lot of people thought he was going to be a bust. I was not in that camp. He also is a rare specimen like Wemby, but there's levels to this, and he is not on Wemby's level. So I also expect, I think he's been the Thunder's leading scorer, or he was up until a game or two ago. I expect Victor Wembanyama to put him in his place this series. I think he's going to get owned offensively. I think he's going to get owned defensively. I'm taking Wemby in every category 10 out of 10 times against Chet Holmgren. So if that happens, that's going to be another really big key to this series. If Chet can step up and play good against Wemby, then the Thunder might have a really good shot at winning, but I don't necessarily see that happening. Also, I'm a big Stephon Castle guy. I think that guy is one of the most underrated guards in the league. I've often thought, honestly, going forward, they might have to get off of De'Aaron Fox just to get a player that fits them better, because Stephon Castle's ready for it. That guy's a dog. Good on the defensive end, great on the offensive end. He just has that grittiness to him. I love how he plays. And I've felt that way since he was at UConn. I remember watching that national championship they won and just saying, wow, that guy's the reason why they're here. That guy's the reason why they're going to win. Because he just brings a different intensity. He's great on both sides of the court. And yeah, UConn had some great players, Donovan Clingan, Caravan. But at the end of the day, he was the heart and soul of that team. I mean, you're the heart and soul of a national championship team led by Dan Hurley. Yeah, stock got to go up for that. So I think Stephon Castle is also going to be huge this series. Need De'Aaron Fox to step up. He's been a little shaky. His ankle's a little banged up, but need consistency out of him too if they're going to win. That being said, I'm going to go out on a crazy limb, and I'm going to say Spurs win in 6. Because I do think if it goes 7 games, you got to give the edge to the Thunder. I would not be surprised if the Thunder win, let me say that. But I think the Spurs are the better team, and I think they have the more impactful player, whether they're going against the MVP or not. I think SGA thrives on shooting the mid-range and driving to the lane, and I don't think he's going to be able to hit those mid-range shots and drive to the lane like he's been doing on everyone else this year because of that twin tower down low. So I think the X factor for me is going to be Jalen Williams, to be honest with you. Word on the street is he's coming back for the series. Is it just a front or a ploy to get them to scheme for him when he's not really going to play that much? I don't know. I think it's going to be very hard for him to come back from a hamstring injury like that where he hasn't played the first 2 series and instantly be an impact player and play like Jalen Williams of old. But if he does, the Spurs are going to have a problem. They're going to be at a little more of a disadvantage because that's a huge piece to get back for this series. My money is he's not going to play that many minutes. He's going to struggle to get back into the rhythm and flow of the offense. And the Spurs are going to take the Thunder out and shock the world. That's my prediction. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But I've been saying it since October of last year, and I'm going to stand on it. I got the Spurs going to the NBA Finals and playing the New York Knickerbockers. And that is going to be epic. Wemby and Madison Square Garden. Oh, man. Sign me up. Sign me up for that series. It'll be great, and I think the Spurs will take it and fully cement and start his legacy. That's my thoughts on the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Game 1, Thunder Spurs tonight. I cannot wait to watch it. Let me tell you guys what, the Spurs get this one on the road to start off the series. Thunder are going to be in trouble. We'll see how this ages. Till next time. Talk to y'all later.